The sealed envelope hit my kitchen table like a verdict. On the thick ivory paper, an old-fashioned hand wrote my full name in a straight, deliberate line, stamped shut with a red wax seal marked by a tiny compass. I froze with dishwater still clinging to my fingers, my heart thudding so loud I could hear it inside my ribs. My rented apartment in Charleston sits above a flower shop that always smells like damp roses and wet soil. On normal days, that scent calms me. Today, it turned my stomach, because I recognize that kind of envelope. It only shows up when someone with real power decides it is time to pull the curtain down. I am 32, a project coordinator for a hospital network. My job is to fix problems other people pretend do not exist. I am used to staying quiet, watching closely, making repairs, then stepping away as if I was never there. My family trained me for that, not with advice, with the way they treated me. In the Harrow house, my brother Logan was the sun. My father Mark and my mother Diane orbited him like it was written into the laws of nature. I was the shadow, the empty space that made his light look brighter. Logan got the bigger slice of cake, I got the smaller piece and a reminder to be grateful. Logan had his own room, I had a folding bed in the office. Logan got new shoes, I got old ones and questions about why I would pick that color. To outsiders, they described me in a pleasant voice. Willow is so independent. Willow is fine. Willow does not need much. Every sentence was a coat of paint over the truth. The truth was, they did not want me to need anything, because if I needed something, it would take from what they reserved for Logan, attention. Only my grandmother Evelyn was different. She never told me I was too sensitive. She never forced me to smile to keep the family looking perfect. At dinners, when my mother slipped in a cutting remark, soft enough that guests could not hear, Grandma would squeeze my hand under the table, her eyes telling me she saw everything. The last time I saw her, she was thinner, but her gaze was still sharp as scissors. She hugged me tight and whispered that I was stronger than I realized. Then she looked straight at my parents and said loudly enough for them to hear that some people mistake quiet for weakness. My mother laughed like it was a compliment. My father looked away. Logan did not even glance up. After that, my family started reaching out more, in a way that felt wrong. My brother Logan texted me to come home at a specific time on a weekend, like I was an employee clocking in. My mother called to ask whether I had changed my address anywhere official. Her tone was too light, too smooth, like she was reading lines from a script. When I asked why, she said there was no reason, she was just checking, but I heard a crack in her voice, the faint scent of calculation. And now the envelope lay in front of me. I pressed my thumbnail into the wax. A dry snap sounded, exactly like the feeling of something breaking inside your chest. The paper inside was crisp, professionally printed, topped with the name of a law firm in Savannah. I skimmed, and suddenly the room seemed to slide away from me. Notice of trust administration and required beneficiary attendance. A trust in my family. I had never heard the word spoken like it belonged to us. They always said the house was my parents'. They always said the inheritance would be Logan. They said it as if the law was just another story they could tell. I dropped my eyes to the list of names. Mark Harrow, Diane Harrow, Logan Harrow, Candace Harrow, and then the last line, my name, sitting there, clean and final, no parentheses, no explanation. Willow Harrow. I sank into the chair, my fingers trembling even as my mind went strangely cold. My phone lit up. A text from Logan. Do not forget Saturday. Be on time. I stared at his words, then back at my name on the page. A chill crawled up my spine. They already knew. They'd known before I did. And the realization that stole my breath was this. That meeting was not about giving me anything. It was about seeing whether I was foolish enough to sign it away with my own hand. I did not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my name on that list like it had been carved into stone. By the time Saturday arrived, I felt hollowed out. the way you feel after you have cried so hard your body forgets how to keep shaking. I drove down to Savannah before dawn, the highway slick with fog, streetlights smearing into long, blurred streaks on my windshield. My hands stayed steady on the wheel, but my thoughts kept slamming into the same wall. Why me? Why now? What are they trying to make me sign? The law office sat in a renovated brick building with tall windows and polished brass handles. Inside, everything smelled like lemon polish and money. A receptionist in a navy dress glanced at my ID, then at her screen, then back at me with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Ms. Harrow, they are waiting." The word "they" landed wrong, like I was walking into a room where a decision had already been made. I followed her down a hallway lined with framed degrees and stiff-looking portraits. When she opened the conference room door, the air inside hit me like a slap. My father, Mark, sat straight-backed, hands folded as if he was praying for control. My mother, Diane, perched beside him with her purse placed neatly on the table, chin lifted, expression practiced. Logan lounged in his chair with that familiar confidence, like the room was his by birthright. My older sister, Candace, sat with her phone face down, pretending she was bored, but her eyes were sharp, alert. Logan looked up first and grinned. Well, look who decided to show. My mother's smile turned on like a lamp. "Of course she did, honey. She always shows up when it matters." That sentence was a compliment with a blade hidden inside it. I took the seat farthest from them, my spine straight, my face calm. Years of being underestimated had taught me one thing: never let them see you flinch. The door opened again. A man in his 40s walked in carrying a worn leather folder. His tie was dark, his eyes tired, the kind of tired you see in people who have watched families tear each other apart over paperwork. "Good morning," he said. "I am Miles Carter, counsel for Ms. Evelyn Harrow." At the mention of my grandmother's name, my father's jaw tightened. Miles placed the folder on the table and looked around the room. "Before we begin, I need to confirm all required parties are present." He read names like a roll call: Mark Harrow, Diane Harrow, Logan Harrow, Candace Harrow, Willow Harrow. When he said my name, Logan exhaled like I was an inconvenience. My mother did not look at me. She looked at the folder, hungry. Miles opened it carefully. "Ms. Harrow has initiated administration of the Harrow Family Trust during her lifetime to prevent future disputes." My mother let out a tight laugh. A trust. Evelyn always did love drama. Logan leaned forward. "So this is about the house. Great. Let's get the deed transferred like it's supposed to be." My father nodded once, as if this had been promised to him in a handshake long ago. Miles did not match their energy. He turned a page, slid a document across the table, and spoke with quiet precision. "The primary asset is the Wisteria Point property. Title has been held by the trust for decades." My mother blinked. "Held by the trust?" Logan smirked at me, confident. "Which means it goes to me." Miles lifted his eyes. "The trust does not name Mark and Diane as beneficiaries of the property." Silence snapped tight. My father's hands stopped moving. My mother's smile froze in place. Candace sat up a little straighter. Logan's smirk faltered, then tried to return. "What do you mean?" Logan asked, voice sharper. Miles slid another page forward. "There are two equal primary beneficiaries." My mother leaned in, already ready to see what she expected. Miles spoke the names as if he were reading a verdict. "Logan Harrow and Willow Harrow." For a second, nobody breathed. Then my mother's chair scraped as she jerked back. "That is not possible," she snapped. "That is a mistake." Logan stared at the paper like it had insulted him. "No, no way. Dad, tell him." My father's face had gone pale. He looked at the document, then at Miles, then at my mother, as if someone was waiting to rescue him from the truth. I sat still, my heartbeat steady in my ears, my mind suddenly ice clear. They had wanted me here for a reason, and whatever came next was going to explain my whole life. Miles Carter let the silence sit long enough to make it sting. My mother's eyes flicked to my father, then to Logan, then to me, as if she could rearrange the room with her glare and force the worlds back into the shape she preferred. Logan's fingers tightened on the edge of the table. Candace stared at the paper like it might start smoking. "This is a clerical error," Diane said, voice thin. "Evelyn is confused. She's old." Miles didn't blink. "The trust was executed, notarized, and recorded. It is not a draft. It is not a suggestion." Logan pushed his chair back an inch, the first crack in his confidence. "So what? She decided to split it? Fine, 50-50. We can work something out." He looked straight at me, smile turning syrupy. "Willow, you don't want this headache. Trusts are messy. You don't even live there. Just sign your portion to me and I'll cut you a check. Easy." There it was, the same move I'd seen my whole life. Act like I'm incapable, offer me crumbs, call it generosity. I didn't answer. I watched Miles instead, because something about his posture told me he hadn't finished. He flipped one more divider in the folder, slow, deliberate, like he was turning a key. "Before we discuss any agreements," he said, "Miss Harrow required that I deliver additional documentation in the presence of all named parties." My father's throat bobbed. "Additional documentation?" Miles slid a smaller envelope on the table. It was sealed, not with wax, but with a strip of security tape. Across the front, in my grandmother's handwriting, were 4 words that made my skin prickle. "Your lies are attached." My mother reached for it. Miles moved it back, just out of her grasp. "This is to be opened here," he said, "together." Logan frowned. "What is this supposed to be?" Miles held Diane's gaze. "Miss Harrow wrote that the reason for decades of tension in this family is contained in these documents. She asked that no one be allowed to intercept them." My mother's face flashed with something I'd never seen so plainly. Fear. "No," she said quickly, "this is unnecessary. We are not doing this." Candace finally spoke, voice tight. "Mom, what is in there?" Diane snapped her head toward Candace. "Stay out of it." My father's hands trembled slightly, the kind of tremor you only notice when you have spent years watching a man pretend he is unshakable. Miles broke the seal. The sound was soft, but in that room it felt like a gunshot. He pulled out a certified copy of a birth certificate and placed it on the table, face up. Then another document stamped by a family court. Then a letter written on cream stationery in my grandmother's neat hand. I stared at the birth certificate first, and the world tilted. Mother, Evelyn May Harrow. Father, unknown. Child, Willow May Harrow. For a second, my brain refused to accept it. My body went cold, like every cell had stepped back to make room for the truth. My mother made a strangled noise. "That's forged. That's not real." Logan leaned over it, eyes wide. "Wait, what is that?" My father whispered, "Mama." The way he said it told me he wasn't surprised. He was terrified that the truth had finally spoken out loud. Miles's voice stayed steady. "This is a certified record, along with a guardianship order filed when Willow was an infant. Miss Harrell gave birth at 17. Mark and Diane were granted guardianship. The intention, as stated in Miss Harrell's letter, was that Willow would be raised as their daughter and told the truth when she became an adult." My mother's laugh came out sharp and ugly. "Told the truth? When? We never agreed to that." Miles opened the letter and read without theatrics, like a judge reading a sentence. "You promised you would love her as your own. Instead, you punished her for existing. You built a throne for Logan and made Willow stand outside the castle wall. I am administering this trust while I am alive, so no one can rewrite what happened after I am gone." My lungs burned. I had to grip the chair just to stay in the room. Miles's voice cracked. Grandma is her mother? Candace stared at me, something raw crossing her face. Willow? Oh my God! My mother shot her gaze at me like a weapon. This explains everything. This is why you've always been so difficult. You knew. You must have known. I shook my head slowly. No, I didn't. My voice surprised me. Calm, flat, like I was watching a movie and not my life splitting open. Miles turned another page. The trust includes a behavior clause. Logan grabbed for the paper, scanning fast. His face tightened as he read. Any attempt to coerce, threaten, or manipulate Willow Harrow into signing away her rights results in immediate removal from all distributions and triggers legal enforcement. Logan's eyes snapped up to Miles. That's aimed at us. Miles didn't deny it. Miss Harrow wrote it because she anticipated exactly what would happen in this room. My mother's cheeks flushed. This is insane. You can't do this to us. You can't just... She faltered because for the first time, the words didn't work. Because the law was sitting on the table in black and white. Logan's voice dropped. Dangerous. Willow, listen. Don't let her poison you. If you push this, you'll destroy the family. I looked at him, at the man who had always been handed everything and still believed he deserved more. Maybe the family shouldn't survive on a lie, I said quietly. The room went silent again, but this time it wasn't shock. It was calculation. Miles slid a business card toward me. Miss Harrow requested that you meet her privately after this. She is waiting nearby. My mother stood so fast her chair screeched. No, she is not going anywhere with you. Willow, you're coming with us. We need to talk. Right now. I rose too, every nerve awake, and for the first time in my life, I felt something in me stop bending. I'm not going anywhere with you, I said. Logan stepped closer, blocking the doorway like he owned it. You think you have power. You have no idea what you're doing. I met his stare. Oh, I said, I think I do. And then my phone buzzed in my pocket. One new message, unknown number. Meet me behind the courthouse. Come alone. Love, Evelyn. I looked up at my family, at the faces that had shaped my childhood like a cage, and I walked toward the door anyway. The garden behind the courthouse was the kind of place tourists loved and locals forgot existed. Brick paths, trimmed hedges, a fountain murmuring like it had secrets of its own. Spanish moss hung from the trees in slow curtains, and the air smelled like wet stone and magnolia leaves. Evelyn sat on a bench beneath a broad branch, wrapped in a light shawl even though the morning was warm. She looked smaller than I remembered, but her spine was straight, her hands folded with the same calm precision she'd always carried. When she saw me, something shifted in her face, like a door cracking open. Willow, she said. Hearing my name from her mouth felt different, not like an obligation, like a claim. I stopped a few feet away, my throat tight. You're really... She nodded once. Yes. The word mother sat in my mouth like a stone. I couldn't lift it out. I couldn't swallow it either. Evelyn patted the bench beside her. Sit, sweetheart. I sat, stiff, my heart still hammering from the conference room. The fountain kept talking in the background, steady, indifferent. I stared at the water, because if I looked at her too long, I might break. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I'm sorry for every day you felt unwanted. Anger rose, hot and sharp. You knew, I said. You knew what they were doing to me, and you let it happen. Her eyes didn't flinch from mine. I did, and it is the shame I will carry to my grave. I was 17 when I had you. I was terrified. Your grandfather wanted me sent away. Your father begged me to let them raise you, said they could give you stability. Diane promised she would love you as her own. Evelyn's voice tightened. I believed her, because I needed to believe someone could make my mistake disappear without making you pay for it. My hands curled into fists, but I paid for it anyway. Yes, she whispered, you did, and I failed you. That admission hit me harder than any excuse would have. I swallowed, blinking fast. Why now? Evelyn looked toward the courthouse building, as if she could see the whole future in its windows. Because they were planning to erase you. After I'm gone, Diane intended to tell everyone you were just a favor, a girl they took in, someone who had no right to anything. My stomach turned. How do you know? I heard her, Evelyn said, at a luncheon. She laughed about it like it was clever. Logan was there too, smiling, waiting. I felt my chest constrict, grief and fury tangling together. So this trust is your revenge? Evelyn shook her head. It is my protection, for you, and for the truth. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded sheet of paper, the county deed, the trust record, proof you cannot argue with. The house has never belonged to Mark and Diane, not for a single day. They lived there because I allowed it. They acted like owners because entitlement makes people bold. I let out a shaky breath. And what do you want me to do with it? Evelyn's gaze softened. I want you to decide from strength, not fear. I want you to stop shrinking for people who only feel tall when you kneel. Before I could respond, footsteps scraped on gravel. My spine went rigid. They were coming. My mother's voice cut through the garden like a knife. There you are. Of course you ran to her. Diane stormed toward us with my father trailing behind, his face strained, and Logan at her side, jaw clenched. Candace followed a step back, eyes darting, as if she already regretted being there. Evelyn stood slowly, calm as a judge. Diane, she said, I asked for privacy. My mother's laugh was sharp. Privacy? After what you just did? You're poisoning her against us. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. I am not poisoning her. I am exposing you. Logan stepped forward, voice low and furious. Willow, don't do this. If you side with her, you're taking our parents' home away. I turned toward him, and my voice came out steady, surprising even me. It was never their home. It was a lie you all enjoyed. My father flinched. Willow, please, we raised you. I looked at him. You watched me be treated like I didn't belong, and you called it peace. My mother reached for my arm again, but I stepped back. Don't touch me. Evelyn lifted her chin. This ends now. Any further coercion will be documented. Any harassment will activate the clause. You will not corner her again. For a moment, I saw it in Diane's eyes. Not love, not regret. Calculation. The instant she realized people were watching, that the courthouse workers walking by were glancing over. And then my mother smiled. Too bright, too fake. We just want what's best for family, she said loudly. Evelyn's voice dropped, quiet and lethal. Then you should have treated her like family. The garden went still. And in that stillness, I felt something inside me settle into place. Whatever came next, I wasn't going to beg for belonging anymore. I took one breath, then another, and the air felt different going in, not lighter, sharper, like my lungs had finally learned they were allowed to take up space. Here's what happens next, I said. My voice didn't shake. Diane's smile twitched, like she wasn't sure whether to be offended or alarmed. You have 90 days, I continued, to move out of Wisteria Point. During those 90 days, you will follow the occupancy agreement. No threats, no guilt, no surprise visits, no calls to my job, no showing up at my apartment. All communication goes through counsel. Logan let out a harsh laugh. Listen to her. She sounds like a lawyer now. I looked at him. That's because I hired one. The words landed like a slap. Candace's eyes widened. You already? I nodded once. While you were all deciding what I deserved, I was reading. I pulled the county records. I reviewed the trust. I learned what words like beneficiary and occupancy actually mean. I learned that you can't bully a signature out of someone when the clause is built to punish you for trying. Logan's jaw tightened. This is ridiculous. You don't even want that house. You never cared about it. I didn't raise my voice. I care about the truth, and I care about not being treated like I can be erased. My father stepped forward, palms half lifted, as if he could physically hold the moment together. Willow, please, your mother and I... Diane cut in, sharp. Don't beg her. She's enjoying this. I shook my head slowly. No, I'm not enjoying it. I'm grieving. I'm grieving every birthday where I watched Logan blow out candles while my name stayed unspoken. I'm grieving every time I came home and felt like a guest in a place I was told was mine too. I'm grieving the girl who kept trying to earn love from people who made love feel like a test. The fountain murmured behind us. A breeze stirred the moss overhead. The world kept moving while my family froze in the spotlight of their own choices. Evelyn stepped beside me. Diane, Mark, this is the consequence, not revenge. Consequence. Diane's eyes flashed. You can't do this to us. We took her in. We fed her. We clothed her. Evelyn's voice stayed calm, but it hit like steel. You fed her while starving her of belonging. My father looked down, the line of his mouth shaking. I thought keeping the secret was protecting everyone. I met his eyes. It protected you. It hurt me. Logan moved closer, trying a new angle, softer, more dangerous. Willow, be reasonable. We can fix this. Sign your interest to me, and I'll make sure Mom and Dad are taken care of. You don't want to carry this on your conscience. I almost laughed. He was still offering me chains and calling them kindness. I stepped back and said quietly, don't confuse my compassion with permission. For the first time, Logan had nothing ready. No joke, no smirk, just a stare that finally understood I wasn't the same person he'd been training to bend. Diane's voice rose, desperate now. You're not even really ours. The sentence should have shattered me. Instead, it slid into place like the last puzzle piece. I looked at her and felt a strange calm. You're right, I said, and you made sure I felt that every day, so don't expect me to keep performing loyalty now that the truth is public. Evelyn lifted her chin toward the courthouse doors. Go, she said, before you say anything else you can't take back. Candace hesitated, her face tight with conflict, then turned and followed Diane. Logan lingered a second, eyes cold, then spat one last line over his shoulder. This isn't over. I watched him walk away. It already was. Not legally, maybe, not yet, but inside me, the war for their approval had ended. My father remained, shoulders slumped, looking older than I had ever seen him. Willow, he whispered, I'm sorry. I studied his face, the man who loved peace more than justice. I believe you, I said, but sorry doesn't rewind a lifetime. He nodded slowly, accepting the weight of that, then turned and followed the others. When they were gone, the garden felt quiet enough to hear my own thoughts again. Evelyn sat back down, her hand hovering near mine like she wasn't sure she'd earned contact. I placed my hand over hers anyway, not because everything was healed, because I refused to become as hard as the people who hurt me. What now? I asked. Evelyn looked at the fountain, then at me. Now you build a life where you don't have to beg for a seat at the table. 90 days later, they moved out. No apology, no goodbye, just boxes, slammed doors, and the sound of entitlement scraping against reality. When I walked through Wisteria Point afterward, the rooms felt like ghosts. Not because of them, but because of who I had been inside those walls. The girl who stayed quiet, the girl who smiled through it, the girl who thought love was something you had to earn by disappearing. I opened the curtains and let sunlight flood in. Dust floated like glitter in the air. And for the first time, standing in the center of that house, I didn't feel like a guest. I felt like a woman who survived. If you've ever been the one treated like an extra in your own family, tell me in the comments what you would do in my place. Would you give them another chance, or would you draw the line the moment the truth surfaced? And if you want more stories where quiet strength turns into real payback, like, subscribe, and stay with Still Waters Payback.